Okay, artist besties, I have done the impossible. I'm an artist who struggles with ADHD, so this is a really big achievement for me, and I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself. It took me 4 months, but we did it. Are you ready? Are you ready for my achievement? I finished a sketchbook. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know. It's such an achievement, and I would like to thank my lovely brain and ADHD medication for giving me the energy and the motivation to finish the sketchbook. Thank you. Okay, all joking aside, hello, my name is Hannah. I am an artist located in Metro Detroit, and this is my first ever YouTube video, and I am so glad that you're here. Sketchbook tours are one of my favorite YouTube videos to watch from other artists. I just feel so inspired after watching them, and I feel like a sketchbook is really a just good picture inside of an artist's brain, because even though you might primarily work in one medium, like for me, I primarily work in watercolor. Sketchbooks are a place where you can just experiment, let loose, use mediums that you've never used before. And that's what this sketchbook was for me. Flipping through the pages, you can just see my brain go off on all of these tangents, try all these new different mediums, different subject matters, and then I end up just coming back to what I'm most comfortable with. It's kind of funny to see, and I cannot wait to show you this sketchbook. I think I might have one page left, honestly, in the sketchbook. Hold, please. I have 5 pages left in this sketchbook. I know I'm prematurely filming this, but listen. I'm excited, okay? And I have been wanting to start this YouTube channel for a while, and I just thought this was the perfect first video to just kind of introduce myself, but also show you some of my art. We will fill it, I promise. Or not. I'm sure all of you know the excitement of getting a new sketchbook, okay? And sometimes when you get to the end of one, or just even halfway through one, a new shiny sketchbook enters your life, and you just think everything is gonna be solved by starting a new sketchbook. So, this is an achievement for me, okay? And I learned a lot of lessons with this sketchbook too that I think are really important and that I'm going to definitely carry with me into future sketchbooks. And that is the importance of play and the importance of experimenting and just letting loose and letting your sketchbook be what it is. Again, you will see in here there are some spreads and pages where I tried to be aesthetic, where I tried to make them look pretty and put a lot of effort and time into them. And then there's some pages in here that aren't even done. I started and then flipped the page and moved on because I wasn't enjoying myself. So I hope you enjoyed this sketchbook tour. If you like what you see, please subscribe. On this channel, I'm just hoping to share my creative journey with others and what it's like being a Christian artist who struggles with ADHD and how that impacts my daily life, but also how my faith has really guided me in my creative journey. And I hope to make more videos on those topics soon. So without further ado, I'll stop rambling. I'm sorry. I know long intros can be a deterrent for some people. I'll stop gabbing. Okay, on to the sketchbook tour. Enjoy. Okay, are we ready? I'm so ready. I'm so excited for you guys to see this. I labeled it sketchbook number 1. It's not my first sketchbook, but it is my first sketchbook that I've completely filled. So that's why I labeled it number 1. I just drew on it using this leather paint that I have, although here on the binding it did kind of come off a little bit, so I need to go over it. I will be linking everything that I used in this sketchbook in the description below, all the supplies. I will also put a link to the reference board on my Pinterest that I use for a lot of my reference images. Starting off, this is the Talons Art Creation sketchbook. These sketchbooks are so popular and I really do love it. It's a good affordable option for a sketchbook. I think this one was under $10 and I just got it on Amazon. They're available in a bunch of different colors, or 5.1 I think by 8.3 inch size. And it's a great size. I love it. It's compact enough that I can just slip it in my bag. I overall am happy with the quality of this sketchbook. I would say it is good for mixed media. You just can't be heavy-handed. So I do use watercolor in here, which you will see, but you just can't be super heavy with the water. Also, I did notice too that you'll see as I flip through it, I'll show you, the binding did start to separate or like break apart a little bit, which I was a little concerned about. But I think overall, again, for a cheap sketchbook, if you're just careful with it, it'll all be okay. And then my last little thing too, little heads up with this sketchbook, is the paper is toned like ivory. It is an off-white. It is not bright white, if you can't tell here. Let's go ahead and dive into the sketchbook. All right, so this is our intro page. I started this in December, like I said, and finished in March. I have not written that yet, so hold on. Okay, and then this is just a quick sketch that I did of my house, actually. So yeah, this is our house, our first home, and I just used like water-based, the super tip markers to color it. This is my swatch page. A lot of people put their swatch pages in the back of their sketchbook. I did mine in the front. I don't know why, but yeah. Okay, so this is the first spread in the sketchbook, and honestly, I think it's still my favorite, or one of my favorites. This is my classic style that I'm sort of known for, is this detailed ink work, and then I usually use watercolor here for my shading or filling in. But these are some places that I went to on a trip to England that I went on, I think 7 years ago now. Yeah, and I just picked 2 colors. I really love a limited color palette, you guys, and that's what I tried to do with this. Is I just used those Tombow brush markers, and I used pink and blue, and yeah, I drew some. These are from photo references that I took. This is a castle in Arundel. This is Buckingham Palace, a spire on St. Paul's Cathedral, and then Charing Cross in London. But yeah, this is still one of my favorite spreads. So these are just some references from Pinterest, a little townhome. So this is just a new brush marker that I got, and like a brush ink marker, and I just wanted to try it out. So I saw this reference picture on Pinterest. I didn't finish coloring it, but I do like the variation in the line widths that the brush marker gave me there. These are just some random objects that were on my desk, but as you see, I glued a piece of paper over top because I didn't like what I drew underneath. I tried to like experiment with that limited color palette again and just drew some random stuff on my desk. We're just gonna ignore this one here. Again, trying to run with the limited color palette theme. Didn't really love how that turned out, but okay, another one of my absolute favorite spreads. These are just little snippets from the movie Tangled. I've actually drawn the Snuggly Duckling quite a few times, but yeah, so I drew that here. I drew the tower. And then this is actually based on a reference from the Art of Tangled book and a piece drawn by Claire Keane. So Claire Keane was one of the main visual artists on the movie Tangled. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with her artwork. She is so incredible. So that's kind of what that one's based on. I just tried to keep my line work light and loose, and then I used watercolor to color it in. Again, just trying to keep it loose and light. I really love how this spread turned out. Okay, so this is one. This was a lesson learned where less is more. These are all objects in my grandmother's home. I love my grandma's house so much. She has so many beautiful antiques in her home. So this is a grandfather clock that she has. She has this beautiful pipe organ in her home. And then this is like the doorway off to the side. As you can see, I drew this around Christmas time. And then she has this beautiful cabinet, handmade antique cabinet full of beautiful antiques. And I had drawn these objects first, and again, was trying to stick with the limited color palette, shading them with one color. And then I went a little bit overboard with adding the backgrounds and some shading. And it looks okay. I don't know. I kind of wish I wouldn't have added all the extra. Less is more. Lesson learned. This one I actually drew on Christmas Day. I brought this sketchbook with me to my in-laws' house for Christmas, and I was working on these during Christmas. I got a new set of pastel alcohol markers for Christmas. It's actually these ones. These are the Artex Oros sketch markers, the pastel set. I love these, and you will actually be seeing these a lot in this sketchbook. This is kind of me experimenting with those a little bit. As you see, they are really pastel, and on this toned yellow paper, it doesn't give quite the best accuracy of what they actually look like, but yeah, I thought this was fun. They're just little snippets from Disney World. Okay, so this one, again, a spread I didn't finish, and you can kind of see some bleed through from the next page, but these are just little snippets from, I was sitting on our couch and I was watching YouTube, and these are just views from my couch. So our TV, our kitchen table with our Christmas tree, and then the other side of our couch. And then I meant to do another one here, but again, I kind of got bored and moved on. Yeah, so these are just some portrait studies in a more cartoony, simplified style. My husband, me, and then both of us. Some more portrait studies. I was watching YouTube, and this is Bella Fiore. She has a true crime YouTube channel. She recaps like true crime stories. So I drew her, just a random person. I drew these in like a blue kind of cold erase pencil. And then, yeah, a random house that I found on Pinterest. Again, as you can tell, I was really into like the dual color. Less is more. I don't really love the shading here, but I do like how I drew the house. I do like how the house turned out. And this is a dream house. This is gorgeous. I would love to have a house like this someday. Some more portrait studies. These are just some loose sketches. It had been a while at this point that I had drawn portraits. And I will link this artist down below too. But when I draw portraits, I use the Rogden method. It is truly the only way that I have found for my brain to compute how to draw portraits. It is amazing. He is incredible. I will link his YouTube channel down below. He is such an incredible teacher. And his method of drawing faces is the way that I draw faces to this day. So I was kind of practicing that here and just some different expressions in some graphite. Some more experimentation. So I glued this in. For this one, I did the watercolor background first. So I just had fun with kind of making a mess and throwing down some watercolor and seeing how it all blended together, how the colors all blended together. And then I drew this on top of it and then went over top with the shading. And I really like how this turned out actually, because you can still see the background colors behind it, but you know, the shading on top of it. I do experiment with this more in the future, but yeah, I kind of really like how that one turned out. This one is the Darling House from Lady and the Tramp. I did a watercolor wash and then some Inktense color pencils on top, or water soluble pencils, and kind of just played around with some texture. And again, just use black ink for the detail there. Another winter scene here. Oh, and this is kind of what I mean about the binding separating here. It's more noticeable in some parts coming up. But yeah, the binding kind of does tend to separate a little bit. I will also be fully transparent when I do master studies as well. If I'm studying another artist and trying to replicate their style, I will be fully transparent about that. I think copying is literally so important of being an artist and doing master studies, because it really helps you find things that you like in other people's styles that you can implement into your own. And this book here, first off, go buy this book. I could not recommend this book enough. It's by Scott's Christian Sava, Becoming an Artist. He has a whole section in this book about copying and how to copy properly. Or also, another book that I would recommend for this is called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. Again, same thing, how to basically do master studies and replicate other artists without stealing. Does that make sense? As an artist, we all steal. Nothing is original, but I'm not passing this artwork off as my own. Anyway, a long story short, this is a master study of an artist that I follow on Instagram. I am so sorry, I cannot remember her name off the top of my head, but I, again, will link it below. I just am in love with her vintage kind of style. She draws these, it's almost kind of like American Girl doll-esque. I just replicated it, and I replicated some of her illustrations, just trying to practice and see how I can incorporate my ink work and light color washes on top of it. So the ink work is done in ballpoint pen, and then I just put the color on top with alcohol marker. And since it bled through, I didn't draw anything on this page, but this is another one of her images. I just love the vintage style and kind of the vintage color palettes here. Here's some more fun little doodles of me and my friends. I just used a gray marker and then a hot pink as kind of an accent. So my husband, me, my friend Emily, and Lauren. Just some simple little face doodles. Okay, so this one's kind of funny. I'm originally from Ohio, so we went to visit my family for Christmas. These are all just little vignettes from my grandmother's home, places in my grandma's house. And I was too scared to color it because I really loved how the ink work looks. And I was terrified that by adding color, I was gonna mess it up. From this page, I didn't wanna make the same mistakes here, so I didn't color it. Just little vignettes from little places in my grandmother's home. Just a little study of an illustration I thought I was gonna do of a little girl building a snowman and like cardinals. I didn't end up doing anything with it, but just some little practice sketches here. Okay, this is another thing that never came to fruition. So like I said, I have tons of other sketchbooks on my shelf that I have sketches in, and I wanted to create a YouTube channel a long time ago. So I had this idea for a video called Sketchbook Saturday, and I might still do this, but I basically just redrew some old sketches from my old sketchbooks. In this one, I did film it, I ended up deleting it, but yeah, these are just some sketches from an old sketchbook that I redrew in this sketchbook. Another unfinished page here of just some townhome buildings. Oh my gosh, okay, another one of my favorite spreads. During the holiday break, my husband and I discovered the show The Traitors, and we are completely obsessed. We've probably seen almost every season now. And this is from the Celebrity Traitors, the UK version. And these are just some of the people that were on the show. We were sat on the couch and I was practicing drawing from life. So I drew these while we were watching the show. And I can't remember all of their names. I know this one's Alan, this one's Joe, Kat. I think it really captured their likeness while keeping them kind of cartoony. And I used a thicker brush pen here. Yeah, and I used a limited color palette, and I really love how this spread turned out actually. At this stage of the sketchbook, I was really feeling kind of just bored with my art, and all of my art was looking the same, you know, these detailed buildings and whatnot. And I was just getting bored with it. And I really allowed myself to fully experiment and have fun. And you're going to see a major shift in this sketchbook here of just full experimentation. And then we end up coming back home in a little bit. It's kind of really cool to see. When you see these next few pages, just know that I was having a blast. I was having fun. I learned so much, which I'll kind of share a little bit too. But my sketchbook became something really important to me in these next pages. So it all started with watching a YouTube video, which again, I will link down below, of another artist using alcohol markers to create a portrait. And I was using my pastel alcohol markers and I kind of just dove into portraiture. Now, don't get me wrong, the proportions are not great. We practice and we get better, trust me. But I had so much fun just practicing with portraits and using color instead of, you know, typical skin tones or typical shadow tones. I learned to use color instead, which I'll kind of explain as we move on. But these are just some portrait studies I did of Jesus. This is a portrait study I did of me. This is my grandmother, and I was gonna draw my mom here, but kind of got bored and just moved on. But yes, this is the video that I watched. I, again, will link it down below. I had so much fun doing this portrait and just getting lost in using a new medium, incorporating all these fun colors. And in the skin tone, there's so many colors that you can't even really see, but it just brings the portrait to life. I had a blast with this, and this just made me fall in love with like creating art again, which is I feel like a feeling we should all just strive for. Do more of what brings you joy in making art, and this brought me so much joy. And this is another reference that I use from another artist. Put her handle here on the screen, but this is Van Gogh. And again, I just used color pencil to do all the shading. If anyone knows how to like prevent this, yeah, definitely let me know because I don't want to ruin it. Okay, some more portrait study, color pencil, and just using fun colors instead of actual colors. And then these, okay, my acrylic markers had been sitting in my closet for months and I had not used them. they were just collecting dust. So I broke them out and I was like, you know what? Let's try something really abstract. Instead of using skin tones and actual tones, I assigned a color to the different shades that I saw on the face. So the darkest shadows, I would use this dark teal. And then the next layer of shadows, I would use this kind of next step up blue. And then for the blushy tones where the face is kind of flushed, I use pink. The next layer of shadows, I use this light lavender. And then for highlights, I used this chartreuse, like a bright green. And then everywhere else I filled in using like a skin tone. And you will see me do this a lot. I had so much fun experimenting with those acrylic markers, and that led me to do this one. I'm obsessed with this still. This is a self-portrait of me, but it's very abstract. Again, I just use those tones for the different, or use those colors for the different shadows. Ugh, I love this. I love this, love this, love this. And then this is a little study I did of our corgi, Alice. Alice Marie McGee. Some more portrait studies here. These are all just references I found on Pinterest. And then this one was getting way too tight with my art. I was getting really frustrated with just trying to be a perfectionist. So I watched this video on YouTube of abstract portraiture or abstract painting. So I fully just made a mess on the page using alcohol markers, color pencil, whatever I had laying in front of me. I just made a mess and made this big abstract thing, and then out of it I kind of drew a portrait. I wasn't intending it to be Jesus, but it kind of turned out to look like him. I just used the lines that I organically saw in the abstract and kind of outlined a portrait. So that one was fully experimental, but it was definitely freeing and allowed myself to let loose and have fun with it. So these are just more references that I found on Pinterest, just playing around with color pencil, kind of in a Van Gogh style, you know, just using individual lines for the shades instead of coloring in. Yeah, I really like these two. I think they're really fun. These are actual life drawings. So my husband and I, one of our favorite places ever is Blake's in Armada. It's like an apple orchard. They do cider. They hold a lot of events, and we actually participate in a lot of events there. Anyway, we went to their Bavarian Fest in January, and yeah, I just sat down. We sat down in their little tap room that they have, grabbed some cider, and I just drew some people that I saw there. So these are just life drawings. This is a sketch that I never finished. And this is another kind of turning point here too. I saw this reference on Pinterest and I grabbed my acrylic markers and kind of just tried to replicate it. Oh my gosh, I love this one. I just love the texture in it. Oh my gosh, I think it's so pretty. And then I tried to recreate the drawing that I did of Alice in the acrylic marker kind of. I still love this one better, but it was still fun. Okay, this next spread is another one of my favorites. Are you ready? Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this so much. I found, again, these reference photos on Pinterest of some dogs. And oh man, I just let loose and had fun with the acrylic markers. I created a lot of just texture and layering. This is a Doberman that I found and then a Basset Hound. I just love the detail that I got with the acrylic markers. Oh my gosh, I think it's so fun. And I just loved using the bright pops of color in the background. Oh, this is one of my favorite spreads. Love it. Okay, so we're just, again, some of these, you guys, I'm going to be fully transparent. I'm a little embarrassed by. They are not great. So this was Dolly Parton. I drew on her birthday. Just, again, experimenting with an abstract way of coloring portraits. The proportions are a little bit off. Don't love it. Bulldog and a cow that I didn't finish either. Okay, so here we're just playing around with our acrylic markers, experimenting, doing some abstract landscape. Had fun doing them and just experimenting with creating depth using the different colors. The dark, cool colors recede in the background and warm, bright colors kind of pull more forward. So I was trying to experiment with that here. Yeah, yeah, those were fun to do. Here again is kind of another pivotal moment in the sketchbook. I got skin tone colored acrylic markers thinking, oh yeah, so I'm in love with doing these portraits. Let me try doing them in actual skin colors. And y'all, I struggled. I really, really struggled. I don't know what it is about just picking out the right tones in the face. I just really, really struggle with actual skin colors. I don't know why, but when it comes to like assigning a color for the shadows, like I was doing back here, I can do that so easily. Like that is so easy for me. Like this, super easy to do for me. This, extremely difficult. And I don't know why. That's just the way my brain works. Another artist that I found on Pinterest who just used the most simple shading of color pencils. Like they use color pencils for their line work. And I had so much fun doing this. We'll move on here so you can see kind of how I played with it some more. Okay, again, Caleb looks a little wonky. Just ignore him here. But I love how Jeremy turned out. My husband and I, another one of our favorite shows is Clarkson's Farm. So yeah, I drew Jeremy and Caleb using the color pencil as the line work and for the details. And I did that again here, drawing some older folks that I found on Pinterest. This, again, was just so much fun, using the color pencil as the line work and creating depth using line and not so much coloring. And even when I did color, I just used very light kind of hatching marks for the shading. And yeah, I thought it was so fun. Oh, okay, this is a fun one. Okay, also, sorry for how many times I'm saying fun, but if you can't tell, this was a really fun point in my sketchbook. My husband and I, for date night, we went to the DIA, which is the Detroit Institute of the Arts in downtown Detroit. And yeah, these are just some things in the museum I took photos of. We sat in their little cafe area, Kresge Court. It's so beautiful. If you live in Detroit, this is one of my favorite things to do is just grabbing a drink, sitting in Kresge Court, taking photos of things in the museum or drawing them live. And yeah, I just sat down and I didn't finish this at the museum. I started it there and finished it at home. But yeah, these are all just things from the museum. This is from a painting. These are all sculptures slash, well, armor and then a bust. And it kind of pushed me outside of my comfort zone again to kind of draw from life, but also draw sculptures from different angles. And I don't think I'd ever drawn a girl like laying down before. So that was interesting. And I definitely love how this looks using my brush marker, my brush ink pen, and creating like different line weight variations here. Oh, so great. And then I just kind of went abstract with the pink in the background. Okay, so these are just some more guys from the museum. Obviously, these are from some Van Gogh paintings they have at the museum. This is crap, what's his name? Postman. Oh, I can't remember his name. Oh my gosh. So this is Van Gogh's painting of the postman. This is his self-portrait. And then this is just a bust that's in the museum. And these washes are done in watercolor. Oh my gosh, this one was so fun to do too. This is the Trader's Castle. I actually turned this into a painting, but this was just kind of practice. Again, using different line weight variations in my brush pen and watercolor washes. And then I added color on top using my alcohol markers just to add some fun. This is another thing that I started doing around this time was putting in a light wash of color using watercolor. And then I would go over top with like yellow, pink, and blue alcohol markers, adding in shadows, highlights, and some midtones. So it was so fun to experiment with that. And yeah, this is the Trader's Castle from the TV show. Some more portrait studies. This is my friend Lauren. I used color pencil for the line work, watercolor, and those alcohol markers. This is one of my favorite creators, artists ever. I've been following her since the very beginning of her channel, Catherine from Catnip. Please go follow her. She is so, so sweet. Love her work. So cute. The proportions aren't great. The likeness isn't fully there. This was totally experimental, but I was just watching one of her YouTube videos and again, decided to kind of draw her from life. So Oh my gosh. Okay, another page that I'm in love with. So I swatched all my color pencils here because I realized I hadn't ever really swatched them before. This is a little Hagrid's Hut experiment. Again, using color pencil for the line work, watercolor, and then alcohol marker on top. And then this is Miss Maggie Smith herself as Professor McGonagall. Went kind of really abstract with the alcohol marker for the shading. Again, using those shadow tones, but I used the like chisel part of the marker. So here, I used like the chisel part and I just made lines like this to color in her face. Yeah, abstract, but cool. Some more color pencil portrait studies from some references on Pinterest. Some more portrait studies. Here I did Professor Snape. This was another fun kind of happy accident, as Bob Ross would say. I have these Derwent Inktense pencils that are water soluble. So I did the line work with those, and then all of this is just me with a clean, wet brush, and I just smudged the line work, and that's what I used for the shadows. I tried it again over here with this one and this one. Yeah, this one's kind of weird. These two, we'll just ignore those. Some pet portrait practice here. Just found some dog reference photos on Pinterest. Practicing drawing the pups. These are watercolor washes. And then again, I went over top with the alcohol markers and color pencil just to add some texture. Okay, this is, you can see really bad. The binding kind of separating here. So we're just gonna be gentle. But similar to the Trader's spread, my husband and I were watching the new season of Bridgerton. If you can't tell, every night after dinner, my husband and I's routine is we kind of sit down and watch a couple episodes of a show or our favorite shows. So this sketchbook also is kind of documenting the different shows that we watched, I suppose. But yeah, we were watching the new season of Bridgerton, and these are the ladies of Bridgerton. So we've got Lady Danbury, the Queen, Violet Bridgerton, Lady Featherington, Eloise, which the likeness there isn't great, but Sophie, and then Francesca. And I probably could have fit another one down there, but I was feeling lazy. Oh, these were so fun. Okay, I'm so sorry guys for me just saying fun over and over again, but I can always remember working on a spread and what I was feeling while working on it, which is also kind of really cool with flipping through the sketchbook, is just remembering where I was and what I was doing and what I was feeling. So this is the artist that wrote the book I was telling you guys about, Christian Sava. And I drew this while I was reading this book. So that's him. But yeah, another little portrait practice. I love the color here. I used my Inktense pencils and again, smudged them using water and just a bunch of medium used here. Watercolor, acrylic marker for the background, alcohol marker. And then similarly here, I just used loose color pencil and then really scribbly loose ink work. And I think those turned out so cool. This was a self-portrait that I did. My goal for this one was to kind of keep it loose, scribbly. I was really loose in my hand with the ink work and the color pencil. Just created some details using the color pencil. And then for this one, basically just illustrated my husband and I's Valentine's Day. I wanted to practice with illustrative journaling. I do journal every single day, and I just wanted to practice with kind of what it would look like to draw my day. So yeah, I drew our day and what we did during the day, and it was such a beautiful day. Again, I'm so glad that I did this because I just remember the little details about the day that I might have forgotten. And I feel like when you're drawing, you capture things that you can't capture in a photo. So you capture the smells, the tastes, the things you ate, and you just remember them so much more vividly because you drew them. Like I remember how our steaks tasted. I remember watching this movie and how it felt watching this movie with him. I remember buying the new candles and how they smelled. Like, that's what I love about art is I feel like you can just capture all of the senses in something that you create versus just taking a photo of it. So, I love that. Yeah, so more portrait experimentation with Harry and Ron. Like this isn't fully there. This was just fully experimental and really quick. And then this I drew when I was feeling something. I was in my feels. Um, and I just felt like in that moment, Jesus was really carrying me through a lot and a lot of stress and overwhelm that I was feeling. So yeah, I felt like the little lamb was me and this was him carrying me. Unfortunately, my black marker smudged a little bit, which was really sad. But I even wrote that. Sometimes walking with him feels a lot like this, him carrying me when I'm too weak on my own. Thank you, Jesus. Some more pet studies from some references from Pinterest. Here, I really tried to just stay abstract and loose again with the alcohol marker. Some more portrait studies, staying loose with color pencil. I think I really like how these turned out. I almost was thinking this dynamic is kind of cool. This could be like a father and son, or maybe this is him and then when he's older, you know? I don't know, but that was kind of fun to do. A random girl. I actually never finished this one. I had this like whole background planned that I didn't end up doing. Another one of my kind of favorite spreads. I used my really fine ink pen for the details here. And then, well, I initially sketched them in color pencil and then I went over top of them with ink pen, just practicing emotions, different face shapes, kind of focusing on filling a spread here with them. Um, yeah, this is really cool. And I love how I assigned each one of them a color. Another spread that I didn't finish, a doodle of my husband that I just pasted in here. I actually did this in December for his birthday. Okay, this one is cool. So random, literally no rhyme or reason here, just drawing what I felt like drawing. So I drew a cow because I like cows. This is actually a baby picture of me that I practiced drawing. This is a side profile photo of me because I wanted to practice drawing some side profiles, a deer, and then as you see in a second, I become really obsessed with daffodils because I drew this in early February and it was still really cold and we were still getting a lot of snow, which it is just now starting to be warm-ish in Michigan somewhat consistently. Actually, today the high is 43 and I'm really sad about it. Um, So I'm just holding on for like spring to be consistently here and I'm trying to channel it as much as I can, as you can see in my nails and my outfits and what I draw. We're just channeling the warmth. We're channeling the spring. We're channeling the pastels, okay? Really experimental here. Oh my gosh, same with this one. Some more portrait studies, except I just used the little dots for the eyes, references found on Pinterest, and I just used really light watercolor washes for the skin tones and really embraced the whiteness or like the white spaces in the portraits. Sometimes I find that I get really rigid and really strict when I'm painting. And art is meant to be fun. It's meant to be loose. It's meant to evoke feeling. And that's what I tried to do through these and just keeping the watercolor light is just having fun, letting loose, not worrying about how it turned out and just kind of throwing down the color. So I thought this was fun. Another spread. Oh, and sorry, the light is kind of creeping in here too. So hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. But another spread that I didn't fully finish. This is a concept for a painting that I might be doing soon, actually. Some portrait studies of Walt when he was younger. Some more spring doodles. I didn't finish painting this one, but again, just channeling spring. I am so ready. A little mug of daffodils, a little duck, a spring cottage, a little picnic, a bunny rabbit, and another daffodil. Another spread I did not finish, which is becoming a theme here towards the end of the sketchbook. So these are actually done somewhat recently. So if you can't tell, I burned out just a little bit and became kind of lazy towards the end, but it is what it is. I drew this while my husband and I were watching a show called The Burbs. It's actually really good. It has Kiki Palmer in it. It's really funny. Loved it. So yeah, I kind of drew a house based on that. I found this reference on Pinterest, tried to keep the ink nice and sketchy, loose, use some cross hatching here. I might come back and color this one because I really like how the ink work turned out. And I think just a big wash of watercolor would be really cool. And I kind of like that it's off center. You know, this looks all incomplete and not finished, but I kind of like that. I like how it looks just off in this little corner and then this is all kind of white. So I don't know. I might even just leave it. Who knows? I don't know. I might just leave it. I like it. Some more experimentation. So this is what I mean, how this sketchbook really came full circle for me because we are coming back home. We are coming back home to my roots, to what I like to do. God kind of just guiding me back to what I'm doing. I had a lot of fun experimenting with all the different kinds of mediums and acrylic paints and styles and methods, but ultimately I just felt kind of drawn back to what I'm doing. So I kind of took this from a reference from Pinterest. I created this fun light watercolor wash in the background and then just did some ink on top. Just drew some houses, again, just experimenting. Bridgerton. I've drawn the Bridgerton house so many times, and there's actually a few things I draw consistently when I don't know what to draw because I'm just familiar drawing them. One of them is the Bridgerton house. Another one is Hagrid's hut. I draw that a lot too. I don't know, when you don't know what to draw, sometimes it's best just to draw something you're familiar with and you're comfortable with and just experiment within that. So yeah, that's kind of what I did here. I have these ink pens that aren't waterproof. So when I put water on top, they smudge and they smear. So I kind of experimented with that. I put a watercolor wash in the background, used those pens for the ink work, and then went over top with water, just clear water. And they're very bright and vibrant. I actually did this method to create this illustration. I'll put it on screen here of the Darling house that I drew back in this sketchbook. And I like how that one turned out way better than this one because I think I was a little more controlled with the smudging and smearing in that illustration than with this one. But again, just have fun with your mediums. And sometimes mistakes and accidents can turn into fun revelations. So I didn't know that these pens weren't waterproof when I bought them because the other ones that I have are. So they're these pens, the Uniball Vision pens. So I have the dark blue and the black ones are waterproof. The color ones that I have are not. They're not waterproof. So we learned that the hard way, but hey, it turned into a happy accident, as our man Bob Ross says. Okay, and we are coming up to the end here. So these are just kind of recreations of two paintings that I've already done, and I will put them on screen here. I was just playing around with my watercolors again, just trying to get back into the groove, because sometimes I do ink first and then watercolor, and sometimes I do watercolor and then ink. It really just depends. But here I was just practicing with putting down the watercolor first really loosely and then going over top with ink. And these aren't fully finished. I kind of just kept them loose and fun. This one I didn't color, but this is just a glimpse of Hogsmeade in Universal Studios. Just some light ink work, you know, again, just to get back into the groove. And this is actually the last page in the sketchbook. As I told you in the beginning, I have a couple left. I think 4 pages, 5 if you include the last page here. But these are something you're just gonna have to subscribe to my channel to see. These are some concept sketches for some paintings that I'm gonna be working on here very soon. They're actually large scale canvases, 2 feet by 2 feet. And yeah, it's a series of paintings that I'm gonna be starting. Acrylic paintings, actually, not watercolor. I'm gonna film everything in regards of these paintings in this series. So if you wanna see that, subscribe to my channel. Okay, I know that's my shameless plug there, but oh my gosh, that is the end of this sketchbook. Whew, okay, I have a newfound respect for people that film sketchbook tours because holy moly, that was a lot more work than I thought it was. But I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you enjoyed a little flip through of my art and you can kind of get a sense of my brain a little bit, although I don't know if you really want a sense of that, but I hope that you'll follow me along this creative journey. I'm hoping to make a lot of new creative besties, so please comment and say hello. I would love to meet you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a day as beautiful as you are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.